table.
That's
Probably
fair.
not.
Like, let's be honest. I like a recording table. It's nice. It's got a tablecloth with bats on it.
I made it myself.
You did. It's a whole vibe.
It's got foam to keep it quiet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, but it's also just like a plastic fold-out like picnic table, and I feel like this mallet is too hefty to be gavel banging on.
That's true.
I'll try it.
You want to try it? Your laptop's on it, and I have a horchata.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah.
There's multiple liquids, actually.
Yeah, we need to... Look, I need this horchata.
My liquids aren't on it.
And it's my house. They're everywhere.
Just fluids.
Mine. I
My
mean.
liquids?
Oh, my liquids.
Oh.
Maybe a small gavel. Just test it.
Yeah. Okay, that wasn't bad.
That's not too bad.
Perfect.
But I'm also putting like all of my wrist to control the momentum of this because it's very...
Yeah.
This mallet
It's a
was a good
mallet.
investment.
It's a mallet. It's heavy at the end.
Yeah, it's heavy at the end. It's got a solid wood handle.
It's rubber.
Like, I feel powerful at recording having this goddamn mallet.
Yeah.
It's good. It's a vibe.
I get that.
But it's not as, like, immediately dangerous as having a machete.
Yeah.
But I only have the one gross one that's, like, rusted and just full of tetanus. And I currently don't have health insurance. So...
The mallet is safer for you to wield.
Technically, the mallet is safer.
It doesn't inflict poison damage.
It doesn't have a poison modifier. No, it doesn't. It
So-
does bludgeoning, though.
Bludgeoning's good.
Bludgeoning is good.
What are we even talking about?
I don't know. I'm just waggling this mallet now.
What are we?
I think hi and welcome. We are Blank Bodies, a Vampire the Masquerade V5 tabletop and horror podcast. I'm your host, Hunter, and as always, I'm joined by...
This one here. And this one here is also a host on the podcast and is mildly intimidated by mallets being swung at him.
I'm not swinging it. I'm pointing in it with enthusiasm.
We put our new office chairs together, and now we have tools of destruction.
I'm John, and that one over there.
Sarah.
Yeah, that's the one with the mallet.
I do have the mallet. I'm with all the talks of Baldur's Gate and me having the mallet, I'm just like I main clerics a lot, and I'm like, me having a mace makes
Absolutely.
sense.
You need bludgeoning. Because for some reason, cracking someone's ribs into their lungs is more holy than just stabbing them.
Yeah.
Somehow.
As the Lord intended.
Internal bleeding like God designed.
Exactly. Look, how else am I going to cleanse the earth if I can't swing this mallet for the Lord?
Right.
But yeah. So this episode is us going on about history.
The Wayback Machine.
The Wayback Machine, The Horrible Histories, which is a great book series.
I
read it
remember
a fuckload as a kid.
Yeah.
There was also a TV series in Britain. If you ever get a chance to watch it, it's a good kid show. But
I think it was on here on a channel because I vaguely
Was
remember seeing it. I think it was on one of the weird kids stations like NBC in the morning or something.
Okay, yeah, I didn't watch that. But Vampire has a lot of history. So you might be like, hey, I'd love to run a game set in these other cool time periods where there's cool plot and lore and things happening.
Well, too bad.
You can do it.
Exactly.
You also can run VTM in the future.
The future.
I feel kind of bad. Hi guys, my brain's a little melty because I started a job. I'm going to college full time, and holy shit, don't do that.
Also, we're recording in the evening.
We're all full of Mexican food,
Yeah.
and the power bequeathed to us by a mallet. So yeah, we're going to be talking about running games in time periods that are not right meow.
Cool.
And some mechanics that V5 gives you for doing that kind of stuff, and some logistics and inspiration for doing that, because it's not a typical game, so it might have some extra work you have to do as a storyteller in a party.
That's also true.
I'm actually spinning the mallet now. I need to put it down.
Now I'm gonna play
No,
with the
John
mallet.
has the mallet. Fuck.
I'm gonna give the dog the mallet again. Get him to walk around the house with it.
He
in
looked.
his mouth.
He was too powerful.
He himself was like, I can't accept this power, and dropped it.
He understood he could pick up Mjolnir and decided it was too much. Oh god. But yeah, so if you're just running historical scenes as just a scene, a one shot, a story arc, or a chronicle, they're all options. It
Every
can be
one
done.
of them. You can do it.
You can. I believe in you. So, content warning is usual VTM concerns.
Blood.
Maybe some historical concerns if we get spicy.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some historical concerns. Not in depth, but we'll get there. And the main sources for this is the V5 core book and also V5 Dark Ages.
Dog.
Yes. So starting off, mechanics. Just so everybody knows, in case somebody's like, but V5 doesn't have anything set in other time periods, so I can't run it. Bleh.
So what?
Yeah. Daddy World of Darkness said it was okay. Quoting, by default, Vampire is set in tonight, right now. However, nothing stops you from running a chronicle that starts its clock in 1991, 1968, 1888, 1204, or in ancient historic chronicles. And obviously no edition could ever cover all of Kindred history. Older editions and versions have plenty. Most notably Victorian Age Vampire and Vampire the Dark Ages. This is in Other Eras box. It's literally in a box. It's highlighted. It's in the book on page 139. If you don't believe me.
You can read it.
Yeah, the publisher said you can do it. So you can't yell at me. John, don't hit yourself in the face with the mallet.
You're like tapping your teeth.
It's cold.
Do you have dental?
No.
Okay.
So I need to take the hammer.
No!
It's my turn.
Okay.
Mom said it's my turn.
Turn with the hammer.
I mean, it's your monitor.
Yeah.
Like,
I have extras.
you do.
Mm-hmm.
So, while V5 doesn't officially have setting books for other time periods, obviously it's encouraged for you to look at other source material.
Yeah.
Do the thing. I will make a note that when you're looking at playing in certain time periods or certain times back, consider the fact that you might have to adjust your character sheets. So things like firearms might have to become ranged weapons.
Yes.
Because after a period of time, guns don't exist.
Same with technology. Well,
Yeah.
guess not, but
The concept of like what technology covers will change because there's a period of time where like the peak of technology was like cutting a quill correctly.
Yep.
Or like operating a printing press
Mhm.
or like a steam engine. It's very fluid.
Yes. So keep that in mind. Discuss at a table. If you're going to go to a certain time period, you're like, hey, so I realize like 4 of the skills on this don't actually translate anymore. So how do we want to parse that gap?
Yeah.
And if you're like, hey, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with changing the skills because I feel underqualified or I'm new at this and I'm nervous. The Dark Ages sheets from the previous edition already have these things turned into other concepts that you can use, and they pretty much just like nicely transcribe over. And if you're like, hey, I've only played 5th ed, I don't know where to get a Dark Ages sheet, go to the Mr. Gone website.
He's got a lot of nice
There's
sheets.
a lot of nice sheets in there, including Dark Ages and Victorian Age.
Hey-o.
You can just use those for reference.
Whee!
Or make up your own as a table. Have fun. So, and if you're also still like, I'm nervous about running a game not set in modern times or like the 80s or other things that were somewhat recently, I did peruse the Storyteller's Vault just to kind of see what was available made by other creators in the community. I found a good little 14-15 page document called V5 Dark Ages. It's by a creator called Alratin.
Nice.
And it is a pay what you want document. So chuck the curators some bones for their work.
Yeah.
And they had somewhat recently updated the document to account for the player's guide and some stuff in Blood Sigils in the book, so they are still working on the document.
Nice.
So hooray! Good news there. It does primarily focus on a vague medieval period. I know the Middle Ages were technically a really long, vague amount of historical time, so like, if you want to get really granular about whether this was the early medieval period or the late medieval period or the early modern and just decide at your table when you want to do stuff and what counts.
Yep.
I think it's kind of, you could use the same rules you would approach something like Pathfinder or D&D that are somehow set in a vaguely European medieval past. You just kind of decide what you do and do not want to be applicable. You can pick a date since it's more real, but
Yeah.
you kind of just got to pick one what you want to deal with and go with.
Yeah, for sure. And there
You
are
can
some...
get as granular as you want too.
Yeah.
Like our old Hunter game,
Oh
we would
my
legit
God.
like pause the game for like 3 or 4 minutes to be like, hold on, we gotta
Longer
Google.
than that. We would have 20-minute diatribes. Because one of us either made a movie reference anachronistic to the year of our Lord 1994, or we happened to cite or wish to use a technology, and then we were desperately Googling to
Wait,
see when the
is it here?
product had come out and how, and if it had come out, how available it was to the general public. Because none of us had a fuckload of resources. Because half of our hunter cell were like public government employees.
Yeah.
So we're like, I don't have a budget to be buying a $900 cell phone. I would not have this.
No.
I remember one time someone mentioned going to the movies, and then they had to try and figure out what movies would be showing, because we had an exact date when we were playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They looked up what movies would be in theaters in like August of 1994.
The funniest one for me was because I was playing a female or coroner, like county coroner, and people kept making jokes X-Files related, and I was like, no, X-Files comes out at the end of 1994. You don't know this show yet. You can't make that joke. Pick a different joke. So
It's true.
we're just waiting until the plot caught up to the release of fucking
Yep.
X-Files, and then my character was just gonna be like, I fucking hate all of you.
This is the worst. All right, there's Scully.
I don't even have red hair.
Actually, Wyatt would probably just call you Mulder accidentally because he wouldn't know the difference. It's like, okay, yeah, they're Mulder. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever, Dr. Mulder.
Yeah.
Come over here, X-File.
Yeah, so it just turned to Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman was the joke, and I'm like, God fucking damn it. That show was out. Fuck. So, the other things I wanted to note about this document that is handy, it has a bunch of charts for not only the medieval period, but also a vague Victorian 1800s, and also what they call a classical time period. So, I think the aim is for, like, ancient Rome, but because of just the speed of technology, you could go back to, like, ancient Egypt, Phoenicians, Babylonians, you can do all that shit.
Yeah.
So it has some good references for, like, shields and plate armor and swords and chariots and things that you're just like, I could see a player fucking with these things.
Having a swords, especially.
Yeah, like technology for, like, a lot of ancient times would have been, like, a blacksmith would have high technology because the amount of knowledge they would have to forge a sword correctly is ridiculous.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. Just, I miss the periods of humanity where our smartest people were just swole as fuck.
Hitting stuff with hammers.
Just, have you seen the clips recently of, because apparently to be a blacksmith you have a lot of, like, hand strength.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
I didn't think about. And there's just all these videos of blacksmiths just, like, demolishing apples by, like, crushing them like soda cans.
Hell
Hell
yeah.
yeah.
And it's horrifying. It's great, but it's also just like, oh no.
Sounds dope.
That sounds dope. But yeah, also within the book, there's some notes on, like, hey, some of these clans have changed over time. Like their banes and various other aspects of their existence. So there's, like, notes about those. They offer alternative merits and various other things. The one thing I wanted to note is they did talk about possibly having to alter the names for the predator types, because it doesn't make sense, because there wouldn't be the cultural context for what they're called now in certain time periods.
Okay.
And the one they brought up was, like, grave robber should be called, I'm spacing what it was in the actual book. I'm suggesting calling grave robber that's the one where you eat blood from dead people.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was suggesting calling them resurrectionists instead. I thought that sounded better than what was in the book, but that is just me. But I also have a lot of weird hyperfixation interest in the Burke and Hare case and various other weird old-timey crimes. So
Fair enough.
I just don't think that's a cool thing to call people.
Yeah.
It sounds dope.
You're a resurrectionist.
Yes. So if you are wanting to dabble in looking at things in other time periods, but you're nervous about building a whole game around it, you can just try it with a Memorium.
Boo 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 boo.
So this
Can we cue the dreamy music with the screen that goes all wavy for a second?
Yeah.
The boo.
I was going to play some music, but the closest instrument to is a bass, and I don't know if that's exactly what you were imagining.
Boom 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 boom.
I mean, it's just a really funky dream.
Yeah.
It's a dream in the 70s,
Oh no.
which is shocking because it was the 70s and everybody was on heroic amounts of cocaine. So how anybody slept, I don't know.
Good questions. Passing out.
Mostly blacking out.
Yep.
Choking on their own vomit. I'm like, yeah, that's
That's how you lose them. Memoriums. You
Memoriums.
could definitely be choking on your vomit at some point during a memorium.
You could. That is true. So if you go to page 311 in the core book, Memorium, this is a scene/story mechanic that allows a vampire to revisit their own memories with the goal of seeking out some sort of information. It's kind of interesting the way it's explained, because basically the way the book explains how vampires process memories and time, the best way I can explain it is you have a human brain, so your hardware can only handle so much data because you have a person brain and you're dead, so you're not technically able to make more neural connections and things. So like basically whatever your brain is when you're embraced, that's just kind of the space you have. So over time, just things kind of fade into the background of your brain. Because it's like, well, you're not actively using it, so you run out of disk space, so it just goes somewhere. But it's still technically there, so you can use the Memorium to force your VT into your brain to reactivate the memory.
Cool.
Which is kind of metal, but it's also just like, when you think about that for extraordinarily old vampires, you're just like, they must be insane.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
That can't be good.
Yeah.
Because I'm only almost 35, and I feel like I'm losing my mind with all the things I have to have in my brain.
I just let him go, man. That's the secret. You gotta hold on to those thoughts and beliefs and whatever. Just let them float off into the wherever.
That's true. They'll come back if they're important.
Yeah, right?
I would love to do that, but, the brain will not allow it.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, basically, when you decide to do this, when you are trying to seek out the specific information, it is in relation to some sort of goal. So you're not just like randomly generating an old memory to get a reward. You have to have like a specific reason and pursuit. So if it's like, hey, where did I leave that book? Or trying to be like, do I actually know this NPC? Because technically we were in the same social circles like 40 years ago. I'm just trying to think like, where did I bury the treasure?
Right.
Tons of options, but it needs to be something that can be a 1 or 2 sentence elevator pitch of a why the fuck?
Right.
What is the goal? What are you looking for? And then the rating of the goal is based on a dot system of 1 to 3, technically, but if you want to like go 1 to 5, just to keep things simple and consistent with everything else, that's up to y'all. But with the 1 to 3, as the book recommends, each higher of the dots equals more rewards that you get when you come out of the Memorium, which is kind of neat.
Okay.
And a fun reason to use this mechanic. So, but basically the bonuses you get are bonus dice on certain skill rolls. You can gain boons because you remembered, oh yeah, that guy owes me a favor. Fuck.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Fuck Jerry.
So is this like a specific kind of project?
It's kind of an offshoot of a project, but instead of it being over a series of nights, you're technically like reaching into your brain. And
It's like almost instant.
Yeah, basically. We'll get into that a little bit. It can be instant.
I like to imagine it's like in like a procedural show where all of a sudden the detective or whoever figures it out and you just see the camera zoom into like the neurons of their brain for a second and their eye just like twitches a little bit and they're like, he did it.
Yeah.
This is how I imagine this working.
Oh yeah, that's
I
that's
also
a legitimate
imagine
way
it,
to
though,
use that.
for like the big, super duper old vampires. It being like they have to like take a nap practically, like it's practically day sleep or like torpor because it's just like I got to start digging. This is 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, I'll jump into it now a little bit because I had notes about it later, but fuck it. No, cool. We're already there. We're already here. So, the book, when I read it, makes it sound like it's more like Hunter's description, where it's kind of a that's so Raven moment. But I have seen, as per the example of like LA by Night, when they have a Memoriam scene, the character basically went into like an extreme torpor for a few nights. So, thematically, I think it would behoove you to be like the longer back in time it is because it requires more effort. Does not require more blood, just more effort. Having the character be down or impaired in some way.
Distracted.
Where it's like, you guys plan to, you do the rouse check for the Memorium. You guys play at the Memorium. And then when you go back to the actual scene, the character who did the memory might be like, -1 or 2 to awareness checks for like the rest of that scene or however you want to parse it.
I think it's a really cool idea to maybe be even tiny, maybe not always, but tiny a bit more harsh with that because I think it's a kind of a cool idea. As a character, presenting blank bodies here, if someone were to, anyone listening were to have ever experienced psychedelics, sometimes you see things kind of on top of each other at high doses. Like you'll relive memories on top of like whatever you're seeing right now. That can be very disorienting, and that'd be kind of a cool way to describe it too.
Yeah, that would be true. And a less fun, and of that, as somebody who has to do with like flashbacks periodically, I don't get like visual like cross like that, but I'll have like sensorial.
Oh yeah.
So my body will be reacting like the flashback is happening, but like visibly and like touch and everything else wise, I know where I am.
Yeah.
And it's weird to have my brain betray me like that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're just like, I'm just trying to get a boba tea, man. Like, why did you suddenly decide that now is the time?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to like not act weird. Be like, thank you.
I have a different problem, but I've been training myself to lucid dream.
Of course you have been.
And sometimes I get memories and dreams mixed up when I half remember things, and I have to be, wait a minute. No, John and I weren't on the moon last week. It was just a horrifyingly realistic dream.
I mean, that's cool, but also no.
Did we survive?
I've never died in a dream. You always wake up beforehand.
Okay.
I'm glad that's happened to you, because I've had several dreams where I've died. It sucks.
Really? Every time I can go, I either wake up or I just... Actually, that's honestly one of my things. It's like, wait, I died, but I'm still thinking. I'm alive. I'm dreaming.
Yeah, no, anytime I've died in the dream, basically, the scene, like, I die and then the scene resets and I do it again.
Oh, like a Groundhog Day.
Yeah, except I die again. I don't have any choices on or changing things. It sucks.
I think I've only died a couple times, once in dreams, but it was just like I died, and then
you just kind of like,
as I remember, the rest of the dream was nothing.
Yeah, you're just kind of like, you died, and then there's like the sleep blackness, and then the alarm goes off.
Yeah,
that must be nice.
I don't know. It only happened once.
Sometimes I wonder if my insomnia is my brain's attempt to trying to save me from just like the weird whatever the fuck's going on in my head. They're like, no, you should be deep cleaning the baseboards instead. And I'm like, I would love to sleep. Anyway, so
baseboards are
another bonus you can have. So there's 3 bonuses. You get bonus size rolls. You can get boons. And you can also get what's called expendable background dots. These are one-time use background dots for various things. This could be the equivalent of, I remembered where the treasure is buried, so now you have 2 bonus resources.
Yeah. Okay.
That kind of shit. So this, whatever the reward is, you're going to negotiate that before you do the Memorium. The book says that they do encourage the STs to, like, get creative with the goal or the rewards for the goal. You can change things up, just make sure it's, like, roughly equivalent to what the book recommends on the 1, 2, 3 scale. So it could be a character remembers a ritual, and you get to add that to your book. Or you remember there's a Thin Blood alchemy store somewhere, and you're like, aha, I have the juice now. I can use it for something.
Got that juice.
Got that juice.
Yum.
It's one of those. It's a box of possibilities. So I can't fill that entirely. That's up to y'all.
I think the important one that I noted here was a boon.
Yeah, the boon is
Boons are
good.
cool.
I like the one where like you're at Elysium or something. Like, do I know that guy in the dust? He's like, yeah, you know them. They're this, so, and this, and then you could be like, I think they owe me a favor. Memorium.
Or like, I feel like he owes me a favor.
Why does that dickhead owe me a boon?
Yeah, just like, why do I know?
It turns out to be very touching.
Yeah.
It turns out to be touching.
Yeah, the reason he owes you a boon.
Because of the touching.
Because of the touching. We're not talking about bloodstained romance or love.
We're dealing with that. Like, I'm working on that. I'm working on it. We're gonna talk about bleed later. That's a future problem for Sarah.
That's good.
Yeah. So currently, we're going to talk about the process of running a Memorium.
Let's do it.
So, when a player character enters Memorium, you can only do it once per story arc.
Oh my.
I think that's to keep people from cheesing this,
That's
which
probably
is
for the
valid
best.
and fair.
Yeah.
The book recommends you don't do more than 1 Memorium a session, but it's your table, do whatever the fuck you're going to do.
Yeah.
And if you decide you're going to do more than 1 Memorium, it's also your table.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you don't have players that are going to be like, I'm going to do this every other session to get all this bonus bullshit. I'm like, no, that's not fair or fun. It could be fun. I don't know.
That's when you start, oops, remembering you have a dark secret. Oops, you forgot that you owe that guy a life boon.
I think if you fail the Memorium, that could happen.
Oh,
he doesn't owe me, I owe him.
There's terrible things that could happen when you fail a Memorium.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. It gets spooky. So, the book does note, while multiple characters might exist in the Memorium, because they were around for the events too. If there's characters that are not, but you have players at the table and you don't want them to be bored for the scene, let them embody the NPCs in the memory, and they can just go fucking nuts, which I think super fun.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a scene where, kind of like the Memoriam example they have in the LA by Night Memoriam scene is really helpful if any of this is kind of confusing for you. But yeah, they have B-Dave playing Karsh.
Nice.
Who's like one of my favorite NPC. Like, Karsh is great. And it's super fun. He's got like blacked out makeup and like a puffy like medieval shirt, and it's a good time. So yeah, you just get fucking nuts. You're
Beautiful.
like, hey, I'm trying to. I was like, does that guy owe me a boon? And then you, as a storyteller, could just be buck wild and be like, okay, you were there because you're doing the Memoriam. So and so, and your coterie was there because you guys have been bros for a while. And the third guy, you weren't there in character. You're gonna play Beckett for like a scene. I'm like, yeah, you can just have fun with that.
That's fun.
Hell
like
yeah.
that. It kind of reminds me, I'll have to look this up after the episode because I'm not going to go to my bookcase of wonders right now. But there's a similar mechanic, I think, in Hunter the Vigil. I think it's specifically in Slasher, but I need to look it back. But there's like a flashback style.
I want to say you're correct, but I've not played Slasher in a very long time.
I specifically believe that this was an ability or a mechanic where, like, you could say you were on the trail of, we'll just say, a Michael Myers style slasher, where you could do a scene where all of the players were the victims and the scene just ends once everyone's dead.
Oh, cool.
And then you take that and start your campaign from there. I think it was in Slasher. Is one of the Vigil books had a mechanic like that, I think.
That would make sense.
That would be pretty cool, though. You're just playing random-ass people, no hunter powers, no hunter knowledge.
Yeah. I think
And
it's
then
in
you
that
get
book.
slayed.
Yeah.
I hope that wasn't just an idea I came up with it and didn't use, but I think it was in the book.
Oops, all final girls?
I was talking about that, letting those ideas float away. I think that,
Could have been one.
yeah.
Yeah. We
Well,
will...
it came back then.
That's
That means
true.
it's a
It's
good one.
important.
We will double check it. And by we, I mean, we are going to forget because we're riddled with ADHD, and our delightful listeners in the Discord are going to at us because they actually did the research when they hear this.
It's a very good chance.
I have to listen to this again when I edit, though, so maybe.
That's true.
Maybe you'll
If
remember
anyone's
that.
going to, it will be you.
Yeah.
So, continuing on. Do note, because Memoriums are going to solidify past events in your game, you can cause some weird time fuckery within your plot timeline. So work together as a team, even more so than usual, to like maintain the continuity. Unless you want to have a super unreliable narrator kind of horror game where everything's disjointed and weird. Like if you want to do who dies at the end?
John?
John. Yeah, if you want to do a John dies at the end kind of story, go for it. That's
Yeah.
fine. But there is a level of yes and kind of gaming maturity that's kind of required when you do these kinds of events, because you might accidentally completely upend the entirety of your chronicle by mistake.
I would also say, in my opinion, this is probably a mechanic that probably works better with a smaller group. I think it's hard. It'd be easy to get like 3 people invested in a past scene of one of the characters and give them a side character stuff that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think when you have like 5 players and you're trying to keep these extended scenes interesting all the time, I think there are people who are just, after a certain number of people, it's just to be like, I'm Guy C standing in the corner. I drink my cocktail, plays with dice.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind too, is your table size.
Table size and just like how comfortable y'all are with each other. Because if you're like comfy and you're like, okay, I understand how we all play with each other when you're playing a random NPC. Like you could be playing the enemy of another player in your group. Tons of shit. You guys understand where everybody's comfy at and you have a good flow of games. So that'll be less hard for you. So if you're newer to the game, maybe your 3rd session should not be a Memoriam.
Right.
Maybe get like 5 or 6 down before you start like fucking with time. This is temporis the right way. As God intended.
Gotta remember it on your own.
Yeah, I gotta live
Young
life and then remember
whippersnappers
shit.
just putting their bodies places.
So,
And
oh,
we've talked about unreliable narration and stuff. If you there are ways around it, like fucking up your timeline. If you're smart enough as an ST about it.
yeah, because it's Memoriums are memories and memories are faulty, so
Which
it
is why
can-
Beckett looks so much like your coterie mate.
Yeah, right. The
Yeah.
implications of that.
Mm-hmm.
You could do some weird implications with that, where it's like, okay, this guy in your coterie that you guys have kind of been butting heads, the other guy that you've been butting heads with, he's going to be playing your antagonist in the past, and then your character has to come back to like,
Ugh, you look like the guy who did the thing.
it's just like, oh, he reminds me of fucking Steve.
Yeah.
Fuck.
God damn it, fuck Steve. Glad he's dead.
Or is he? That's why we're doing the memoriam.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I killed him. Did I leave him out in the sun?
So, interesting thing when you travel in time. Past you does not have as much stuff as current you.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
That is funny.
So, you don't have to write whole new character sheets for yourselves when you go back in time.
Okay.
The book does recommend, for every 50 years in time you go back, just nerf a discipline dot of your choice to represent you having less powers.
Yeah.
You don't have to rewrite a whole character sheet. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Right.
Because that would be a whole pain in the ass being like, unless you're the kind of granular table that saves all of your old character sheets and you can just like whip that shit out.
Yeah, that'd be a pain.
Yeah, I totally don't do that. Anyways. I don't have folders full of all my past saves on my character sheets because I can't remember how I built a character. So if somebody asks me like why I have XYZ, I have to like relook at my old saves to figure out what the fuck I did. Like, why am I built like this? Oh yeah. You good?
Yeah, I just started rotating.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're too powerful with our new chairs that the patrons have helped with, and
Yes,
we
thank
actually
you.
have real chairs.
Yeah, we're not sitting for hours in folding chairs anymore. It's great.
It's nice.
So thank you.
My butt doesn't hurt.
He hasn't bitched about it once yet. It's fantastic.
By now, I would have been shuffling.
That is true. But yeah, when you're resetting the character sheets to past selves, yeah, keep everything the same. If you want to adjust advantages and flaws for past self, play that by ear. Whatever makes sense. You could also just not fuck with it.
Right.
Your hunger rating for the memoriam will stay the same as it was in the timeline.
Interesting.
Just keeping things simple. And I'm
Yeah.
like, thank God.
Right.
You're not like, we have to roll a whole new hunger. I'm like, no.
No, just keep it going.
Yeah, we're keeping it rolling. So to kickstart things, to get your brain blast going, you roll a rouse check.
Pew, pew, pew.
So potentially you could start the memoriam a
Even
step
more
hungry than you were before.
That'd be crazy to
Whoops.
just start it like, oh, I hit that, I filled that box.
Yeah.
So it starts off with me going into a fit.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a good reason to have the beginning of a memory, though.
True. You could have a storyteller that's nice. That's like, okay, your hunger goes up, but it won't go up until after you come out of the memoriam. You could do that if you want to be nice.
Yeah.
Depending on how the memoriam goes, that could just be an awful cliffhanger of like, things happened and now I'm going to come back even worse.
Yeah.
Fuck. So, you've done that. We have spoken about what happens to your character in the timeline when you do this. You can either be kind of staring off in the middle distance or pacing as you're thinking, or you have to go take a nap. Decide what's dramatically appropriate at your table for this. I'm not your dad. So, during the memoriam, certain actions during the scene can provide bonuses. There's a whole list of them on page 313. So if there's certain things you want to do within the memoriam that might help you to give bonuses, like feeding and other stuff, there's things you can do that are specific within the scene to give you little bonuses. So, go look at that. There's too many, I'm not reading them all. Storytellers should offer a number of challenges or difficult events equal to the goal dots. So if it's a 1 dot goal, just give them one objective. Like, hey, the goal is I need this book. You gotta break into the library. That's the one big thing you gotta do.
Right.
Why is that guy here? You set that at a 3 for whatever the fuck reason. I'm like, cool, you got 3 big things you gotta do. So this scene's probably gonna be a little longer or more intense. So basically, when you're deciding what the reward is, you're setting the difficulty for the memoriam as well.
Gotcha.
So keep that in mind. If you're just like, I'm not liking my odds on this today. I've been rolling bad. I'm just gonna go for the 1. I just want my info and my 1 little cookie and go about my day.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So, you can call the scene at its end when everything is dramatically appropriate.
Nice.
So this can be at the success point for achieving the goal. This could be a failure. This could be when there's a cool moment to wrap on. Like, you got all the goals, but there's like characters having an exchange and you can finish that scene. You can delve into how they escaped the library where they stole and however you... I trust you guys.
Just as the beams were falling down, the memory stops.
Yeah, the book...
So you leave it in a cool...
Yeah, exactly. The book does say that when you fail to achieve one of the goals on your 3 dot, 1 dot, 2 dot goal of things, if you have a failure at that point, the memoriam ends.
Damn, so you can just lose on the first one and not get anything, even though you risked like a 4 dot.
Or, yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah. It's consequences.
Consequences.
So, the after effects of memoriam. If you achieved the goal, hooray! You got your stuff.
I would like my things placed inside a bag
Mm-hmm.
so I may carry them.
Collect your bag.
I was,
Is this?
I was just accentuating in the
Ah,
bag.
the bag.
Sorry.
Oh,
'Cause here
you were
I-
doing it visually.
You were, but I was expecting. I was like, oh, this is dramatic. Where's this going?
Nowhere. It's not going anywhere.
It's going into the square hole.
I'm sleepy.
You are. It's okay. We're getting through it. So any willpower damage that you take during the Memorium follows you back into the current timeline. So while you're reliving the memory,
Makes
if you
sense.
like spend willpower to re-roll dice, that damage gets transferred into like the that
like
was bad time.
It's like those memories you have right before bed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That then end up keeping you up for a little bit longer. and
You're
messing
going
with
to
your
sleep
day.
and you're like, I knew that answer in the 5th grade, but the teacher asked me and I was nervous.
I fucked it up.
I said Sweden and the answer was 1942. And
Exactly. And to exacerbate this problem, any health damage that happens during the Memorium gets converted into willpower damage.
Huh.
And this kind of is to represent any trauma that you have experienced as kind of emotional damage.
Yeah. I like that.
Which is kind of cool and neat, but also, oh fuck. Because you could snap out of a Memorium and it's like, yeah, you passed the rouse check. Here's your 2 ag willpower damage and 3 superficial willpower damage. And you just come back to
Yeah.
it and you blink and you just the choppers of Nam, you've become Elmo, have come to fruition.
Yep.
If you happen to acquire a crippling event injury during, because there are alternative rules in Vampire where if you take X amount of damage, you get a bonus extra damage that causes like negative modifiers, like your arm gets ripped off.
Right.
So if that were to happen, it's assumed that by now, if you have your arm, it is healed. We're going to ignore that.
Yep.
It's just like, that doesn't get converted to anything else. You're just like, oh yeah, I forgot that was the night I ripped my arm off
Fuck, that hurt.
to beat a guy to death with or however.
I'm real glad that it's come back now.
Yeah.
So they blink, have Nom flashbacks, and they're just staring at their hands.
Just flexing your fingers, just being like, sometimes being undead. Helpful.
Yeah.
If the player character ends up torpoured within the Memorium, it's assumed that they are woken up at some point between then and now.
Yeah.
You and the storyteller need to work out whom, what, where, why, just so that's in your notes.
Mm-hmm. I like
You've
it.
now created plot. Good job. If you die during your own Memorium, good news, you're alive in current times. You don't suddenly just remember you're dead and blink out of existence. So that's good. The bad news, the plot now is aware of the fact that you have died and you're alive now. So you owe somebody a life boot and you and your storyteller need to work that out. You've now generated plot.
maybe you still don't know.
Maybe you still don't know. There's tons of options, but you've added just another plot hook to like reel in.
Mm-hmm.
Just add. It's like, cool, you have a dark secret now. you owe somebody a boon. You have no idea.
Dark secret.
Dark secret.
Dark secret.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
Nice.
logistics for running.
One
VTM.
leg in front of one, and then another leg in front of that first leg.
One foot in front of the other foot.
Yes.
In front of the other logistics. I'm going to highly recommend if you're doing any kind of historical, changey, timey-wimey, playing in a different time period, Session 0 becomes exponentially more important.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to work out how much historical accuracy you want for your game.
Yes.
Because I have seen this destroy so many game groups and so many things.
Yeah, that's kind of what was mentioned earlier with the Pathfinder
Mhm.
D&D.
Oh, yeah.
Like when you have the one guy who wants to accurately simulate tools of the time, and everyone else is just like, I want to drink ale and kill orcs.
Yeah.
I have this cool thing that runs on gunpowder.
Well, gunpowder doesn't happen until the 1500s, and we are playing in 1206.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, I'm a time traveler then.
Yeah, it's just like, well, actually, I have all of these dots in alchemy, and therefore, yeah.
You're a fucking vampire. You can
Yeah.
make things work.
Technically, you can fly. So, like,
This is a universe in which mages exist.
Yes.
And wraiths and changelings. I'm sure you can find a fun excuse to make your powers or whatever you need to do work to make the
Yeah.
game fun.
now there's dorks like
Yeah.
me who I really like learning about history and being able to bring aspects of that into games and plot and table and things. And there might be other history nerds like me that are just like, I would fucking love to play a Regency era, whatever the fuck game where we have to like understand the rules of decorum on how to fold a goddamn letter to send it to each other and all that other weird shit. I know a ton of people don't fucking care about that.
Nope.
Not at all. Not a lick of giving a fuck.
I don't give a two shits about folding no letters.
I wouldn't lick that letter to
Exactly.
mail it.
No way. That's why they have wax.
Well, here's the thing. So,
Wait, that's more proper, isn't it?
Yeah.
well, no. There's two kinds of wax. You have the cheap mailing discs.
Dicks?
Discs.
I bet they do make wax seals that just look like dicks.
Oh, I'm certain they did. I'm certain
Yeah.
there was some very naughty letters. But
yeah.
yeah, there's you can buy big boxes of little wax discs that that you just use for sending like just regular business mail.
Yeah.
Like nothing serious, nothing important. And you would put it under your tongue to warm up the wax enough that it would like stick and seal.
Huh.
And it was considered uncouth to send proper correspondence with the cheap discs because it
Because
was
of
in
that.
your mouth.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, so if you were sending a proper decorum thing, you had to have actual wax you had to melt.
Right. And then like drip on there and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was a whole other market about like seals and different. I think it's interesting, but I know there's people that are not going to give a fuck about that, and that's fine. That is valid and cool. But I'm also gonna give a note on the other side of the thing of possibly maybe keep in mind how your game is using your setting, because you don't want to overlook some of the messiness of people and cultures throughout history. So, I'm not saying every game that travels into a different time period and context has to have a moral statement. You can just be kind of goofy pirates. But also, during the time of pirates, there was slavery and other things that were terrible. And I feel like ignoring that is not good and weird. So, just keep it in mind. Make sure that the way you're running the games isn't accidentally erasing important aspects of history. Because that might accidentally lead to people forgetting that those things happened. And leads to people having some whack-ass opinions about shit. Like, somehow the Civil War was not about slavery. And I'm like, that is not true at all. And I can't believe we're still arguing about this as a culture. It's weird.
States' rights to what?
Right? States' rights to what, motherfucker? Say that shit again.
to own people.
Yeah. Fuck.
Damn it, we got back to it, pal.
We did it. So, yeah. I trust y'all to calibrate correctly, but it's things to think about. Also, on that note, time traveling may not be fun for all of your friends. Insert several comedic jokes about black people fucking with time machines. While your characters that you may be portraying may not even be a person of color, they might not be queer or feminine or woman or disabled or whatever. Those topics are probably gonna come up when you're dealing with a historical time period game, and sometimes people just don't have the brain space for it and they don't want to fuck with it. It doesn't have to be in your game, but if it is, you're gonna want to make sure that everybody has an understanding about like what your consent calibration is, how far you're going to go into these topics. If somebody gets uncomfortable, how are you going to pause? How do you want to cut things? Like, where's your fade to black moments? Because history is messy, and some of it is very terrible. And if you want to look into those things, I'm not saying you can't engage with unethical topics and content, but there's ways of doing it that does become a problem. Because I've been in games. I've been in so many games where I was like, oh, it's a historical World of Darkness game. This will be fun. And then I go in and I'm like, this is just a bunch of edgy teenagers just getting away with saying the N-word. I hate this. I'm leaving. I wanted to play spy versus spy in World War II.
Pretty neat.
That's pretty fun and cool. There's a lot of active anti-Semitism that's very concerning. Oh, fuck no. So, and there's
Watch out for that.
Watch out for that. And there's also people that are like using games for escapism or might want to run like an alternate history of certain events. And they're just like, yeah, I don't want to deal with the fact that I have less rights than other people at the table because I have to deal with that outside the game. And I'm like, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
You could also just lampshade a lot of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Like specifically, I remember we had to look it up. We were watching some documentary when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about some young early American entrepreneur. I think it's a distillery, but they specifically kept referring to him as a confirmed bachelor, and we had to look like, does that just mean he was gay?
Yeah, that means he likes
That means
sucking
he's
dick.
gay. Okay.
He had a roommate.
So at the time he was well known, confirmed bachelor. It's like we're all just like, so people knew he wasn't married. What the fuck? And we looked up and we're like, oh, okay, that.
Gotcha.
I understand why they might have said it that way in like the early Americas, but like,
Why are we still saying it like that?
it's 2002. You can just say he was gay.
Yeah.
Not in 2000. Not in Bush's America. Fuck no. That was don't ask, don't tell.
Listen, Ellen broke down that door.
I'd much rather give it to Wanda Sykes, honestly, though.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think she did more work than Ellen.
I think Ellen's funnier poll, though, so.
Ellen is a funnier poll. Sorry. I'm
But
tired.
Wanda's a funnier person.
That's true.
Wanda Sykes is a better comedian.
I thought you were going to say better person. And I
No,
was gonna
that's true.
agree.
That's true.
Yeah,
I thought
too.
that went without saying. It's just I laughed because I'm we're all very tired, but my brain immediately went to the bit of Trixie Mattel doing her impersonation of homophobic Cher, which just Google it, it's fantastic. It's just the idea of her wearing like a tinsel wig and just yelling slurs at gay people is very funny. Because we know Cher, champion of the gays, would never.
Would never, ever.
But her shitty Cher voice is so good, and I hate that it's just in my head all the time right now. Anywho, things that are also in my head all the time. Along with deciding the vibes and the tone of your game, of like how dark and serious or how fun topics you're going to be covering, agree ahead of time upon the rough time period that you are covering. This has caused so many fights in games I have played in. Holy shit. I spent a lot of time fucking around on internet Discord groups, servers, for playing World of Darkness games during the quarantine lockdown, just because I had literally nothing else to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I have a lot of this, and then also just historical roleplay games I've played in previous to that. Oh my god, because there was too vague of a description of the time period, and then history nerds who are not pedantic at all.
Never.
Never.
Never pedanting.
Never. On Megan Thee Stallion's internet? No. Never. Yeah, and it caused like fucking server destroying arguments. Like the game collapsed because people could not agree on X, Y, and Z being allowed in the game because of the time period. So even if you are keeping the terms vague, just have an agreement of what vague actually means.
Or just, be a little bit flexible with your fucking friends.
Yeah, or people just talk with your friends about
that
things.
might even be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, that's the concerning side of it. On the more positive side of when you decide like what the time period is that y'all are agreeing on, it makes it a lot easier to research like what you need to know and understanding like what the scope of your abilities and knowledge and attitudes are for your characters in the time period. Because depending on what time period you're in, you're gonna have some very interesting opinions about feet.
Ew.
I know. I watched a thing earlier today about Trilby, who is this character from a Victorian era horror novel who is like an artist model. That in the novel, it's decided that she has like some of the most beautiful feet. And it became such a meme in the Victorian era that there was like a bunch of merch, foot-related merch. And it's like how pedicures got really popular back in the day.
Huh.
It's wild. I'll share the link in the Discord.
Please do.
It's fucking fascinating, but it's also like, what?
I hate it.
I hate it, though.
But I want to learn more
Tarantino
about
would
it.
be so stoked about that time period.
This shit is the reason Tarantino does get stoked.
Fair.
Fucking weird novels involving exposed lady feet and hypnotism. It's weird. It's very 1800s.
Very good.
You piqued my interest at hypnotism, though.
Yeah, that's where Svengali comes from, actually.
Oh, nice. Feet.
Yeah.
Thanks, feet.
Thanks.
No!
I'm imagining that...
They really get you places.
They
That's
do.
true. I'm imagining kind of like that guy in Zoolander who's the hand model who keeps his hand in like the hyperbaric chambers,
Mulder
but just
coming
their
back.
feet
It's full circle.
just clonking around.
Just clonking around.
Keeps my feet nice.
Kind of, because in the novel, she avoids wearing narrow pointed boots that were very stylish at the time to help like protect her feet, and that's part of the reason why women's fashion changed from very pointed toe shoes to like wider shoes and even like introducing sandals. It's wild how much Victorian like obsessions with the beauty of feet just changed so many things in our culture that we just consider like normal and whatever.
Yeah, that's why I wear sandals all the time. I gotta keep these tootsies in shape.
You do, man. It's like your greatest asset.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm just saying, if your feet are going online, you best be getting paid.
I miss pointy boots.
I know, I love me a pointy boot. It just the toe box needs to be wide to start with.
That's true. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to start pointy at the heel.
Yeah, and then just be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, lines, veils, and consent. As we've talked, history can be fucked up, is fucked up. That doesn't mean you have to be fucked up.
Yay! Don't.
Well, it's totally fine to play out unethical characters with the proper context. We are not opening the door for people to be like, I'm playing Nazis. It's fine, wink.
It's not fine.
Fuck off. Anyways, you can play unethical characters. It's like Grand Theft Auto, where it's like, I'm playing a game where I'm like murdering people, but there's consequences because there's like the cop system, and I'm acknowledging I'm a bad person in the game.
Yay.
Yeah, that kind of shit. But crossing that line to harm your friends to quote unquote be authentic to the time period is not worth it. That was also a giant thing I've dealt with doing historical gaming because, you know, being a femoid and you deal with history things, suddenly it turns into like, wench, go make me a sandwich. And then I go, fuck off. And then
Sandwiches weren't invented yet. I can't. Fuck off.
Yeah, and then in game, I'm getting committed to an asylum because I am like talking back to men.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't agree to that being the tone of this game. I'm not opposed to being in games like that, but you can't just be like busting that shit out and being like, that's the rules because this is how the time period worked.
Right.
And I'm just like, could we have like paused and been like, hey friend, is this a thing you're interested in exploring in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let me know if this gets weird. I'm like, oh, okay, sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Various other things where people are like, this is authentic to the time period. And I'm just like, you're just being a dick. Also, it's not that time period. Now. And we're in the same room. I can retaliate. You're aware of this, correct? Okay.
Where's the mallet?
Where's the mallet? Actually,
I put it out of reach on purpose.
no.
We hit like 3 things. We each hit something. I was like, I gotta put
You're like,
this
all right,
away.
the universe is in balance. So what you're saying is we need to get more mallets, so each have one?
Yeah, I think we should have... we should throw mallet away every time it's used and get a new mallet.
We don't quite have that Patreon
Wait.
budget.
Is it per swing or
Per hit.
per job?
I was thinking, I don't know, we'll have to figure out the logistics before we put it on Patreon.
Oh, that's fair. The mallet. We got to figure out a mallet budget.
Yeah, gotta budget all these hammers.
See, this is why we got to get to the milk episode.
Milk.
Speaking of milk,
Milk lemonade. Around
No.
the corner, scripts are made.
that's true. Part of the script. I'm going to suggest also as part of your lines and veils and consent at session 0, as a group, do a little bit of Googling of the time period that y'all are fucking with on the off chance that there's just some shit that's happening when and where you're planning your game that you might not be aware of. Because there's just a lot of fucked shit happening all the time. And it would suck to be like, hey, I want to do a game that's set in this time period in this place. That sounds nifty. I would love to explore this. And you go, oh no, the Boer War is happening. Fuck. I don't want to deal with that. We're going to pick a different place.
Or you accidentally find out about the Emu Wars and you get so excited that you definitely play in that.
You play an Oops All Gangrel game. Everybody can shift into emus.
Yes!
You're fighting.
They're Sabbat raids, and all of the Sabbat shovelheads are Gangrel shovelheads that have been taught how to turn into emus.
You're fighting the Australian military, which has a secret cell of hunters. They're telling people they're trying to call the emus to help their local ranchers, but the thing is they know about the emu gangrel, and this is actually a long-standing conflict. This is one of the earliest offshoots of the Second Inquisition.
Love it.
Far from it.
No, I know.
Earliest. I'm just
saying.
I'm totally fine with it. I think that they should still have a storied history.
Yeah, no, it's just so good. Just one cell of hunters in the Australian military.
I wield the medieval hammer of Christ. Time to decimate the emu population.
No, you need to understand, I am the righteous hand of God, and these unholy, foul creatures must be called... No, I'm funny. Fuck off.
Wet fart noise.
You actually have a soundboard.
I don't have a wet fart noise. I got this, though.
That was too joyous.
No, I was going to say, that was pressed sarcastically, and I felt that.
Yeah, I think there's a way to switch to a second set of buttons, but I don't know how to do it. We're not going to figure that out
No, that's a future problem for Hunter.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
That's just like a crowd. You got to hold that one down, I think.
Okay.
I just tapped it, so it's like...
When you tap it for a second, it...
Sounds like running water.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounded like a beach.
But if you let it go...
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you can hear the clapping in there. Yeah.
John, is that what you hear in your head all the time?
I wish.
That would drive me insane.
That's fair. Hopefully things that don't drive you insane is have an understanding of how you're going to calibrate for continuity, because it's going to come up. At some point,
Yeah.
somebody's going to say or do a thing that is anachronistic to whatever the fuck you're doing, and just haven't agreed upon however the fuck you want to handle it.
Either or Google to see if the movie's out yet.
Yeah. Or, just be like, okay, we're going to rewind 5 seconds and just pretend that didn't happen because you for a half second forgot that in your 1600s era game that you can't reach into your pocket and immediately get that information.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, fuck. But it's the 1600s. I have giant pockets.
You referred to a short enemy as Napoleon, and then you realize that's another 100 years away.
You're like, wait, hold on, that's oh fuck. Technically, I am a prophet. So that is things to understand because we have had as a friend group very passionate but understandably fun yelling about pop culture references from the early to mid 90s. I've had friendships destroyed at tables over people yelling about shit like this. So
some people are good at it, some aren't.
Yeah, it's a skill that you can hone and get better at over time.
If you want to be pleasantly yelling at your friends at tables during arguments and afterward be able to hug each other and say, that was a lot of fun. You got to practice it.
Yeah. You have to have a really good and solid friendship base to be able to look your friend dead in the face and be like, listen here, you piece of shit. I know Terminator 2 hasn't come out yet, and I will eat so many terrible, terrible things. I will eat a whole VHS tape if I am wrong, but I am so determined on this. I will fucking murder you. Not really, but just like, I will fight you in the street right now.
It's good.
It's a good time. Our friendships are aggressive.
It's true.
That's
Sometimes.
True. But yeah, so you've decided game. You decided how you're going to calibrate things. You got all the logistics and all that worked out. Inspiration, just some nuggets of things that I have used for people that are super lost and or concerned or just maybe want to have some new places to go look for shit. If ya fellas have ideas on things, feel free to shout them out. Because you're here, unlike the audience who exists in the future and cannot yell at me during this recording.
Audience, if you have anything to say, just go ahead and call in.
Actually, if you have other sources for like historical research that you think would be helpful for gaming and you want to share it in the Discord, our public community Discord, we have a whole games resources and writing inspiration channels.
It's true.
Exactly for this bullshit.
Do it. Check it out.
Highly recommend the 20th anniversary editions of Vampire Victorian Age and Dark Age. Bunch of great shit. Tons of stuff. There's like 30 years of bullshit that's been written.
And I think it's worth noting that all the other game lines from Old World of Darkness, I think most of them, I don't think they all got them, but most of them also got historical settings. Mm-hmm. And because it's World of Darkness, Vampire also ends up coming up in them, almost all of them anyway.
Yep.
So, like, I know I think Mage was Renaissance, Wraith and Werewolf had, like, Cowboy Western book. There's a bunch. Changeling was also Dark Ages, I think.
Yes.
But yeah, there's other settings outside of Vampire that they still at least give you a little bit of an idea what the fuck vampires were up to in that era. So it might just be a couple blurbs, but...
Yeah, and I will say in Dark Ages, there's a wealth of books outside of Europe.
Which is cool.
Which is super dope. There's a lot of the research I've done so far in the show when I'm trying to like not be Eurocentric and be like, hey, let's look at other pockets of the world and see what's going on. It's almost always in Dark Ages.
Huh.
It's almost always in Dark Ages. Like all
Dark Ages?
Yeah, like the Veil of Night book that I cite all the time that covers a lot of the more Islamicate areas and the Ashira. Dark Ages book.
Nice.
It's a really cool book. I like it. Does throw me off that when you open the book, like one of the first illustrations is a full page like Turkish bath harem scene with just a lot of titties. Which is kind of metal.
Yeah.
It's just very confusing because I'm like, I don't think that's how that worked, but like I also wasn't there, so whatever.
This is one of those things you decide before your game starts. Titties?
Titties, or titties,
or no.
Or implied titties.
You gotta vote.
Yeah.
No titties existed in the medieval. No one had them.
Like
no one saw them.
Titties were for nutritional value only, and you tucked them away as the Lord intended.
Yes. Yes.
There will be no buxom wenches in my chronicle. That's not true. That's not true at all. No, this is a very pro-titty storyteller here.
Same.
Right? Because titties are rad. I'm pro the body.
I'm not a storyteller yet. I don't think I've ever story-told Vampire.
You've run D&D mostly for us, so you've been like our forever DM.
D&D,
You've been our forever D&D DM. And Shadowrun, we did do Shadowrun.
So you've been a storyteller, but for Shadowrun.
Yeah, not for Vampire.
We need
That's
to work
okay.
on that. We can work on that.
I'm fine being a forever player.
I've ran Vampire, but I don't think I've ran Vampire for you guys.
No.
I just ran a lot of Hunter,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, that was our cycle. Was you ran Hunter and I ran Vampire, and we just kind of rotated
yeah.
for a long time. But yeah, so if you're wanting to listen to podcasts because you have that kind of time, I super recommend Dan Carlin's Hardcore Histories. These are very intense deep dives. These are long fucking episodes, but the research is really good, and Dan Carlin is a delightful narrator, and he gets into a lot of the weeds and the moral nuances of various historical events and time periods.
Great show. Time sync. It's like a 2 episodes in a workday kind of podcast.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
like one episode can easily be 4 hours.
Damn.
But it's one of those, if you're like me and you listen to podcasts while you're driving because your commute is like half hour to 45 minutes, like you can get through an episode in like a week.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I recommend is there's two series, Revolutions and the History of Rome by Mike Duncan. I've mostly listened to a series on Spotify. Revolutions is a historical series where he talks about various different uprisings throughout history. So especially if you're running Anarch games, that's super helpful because it's like the Jacobin revolts and all sorts of other historical events. And then, if you want your ancient Rome, because, the men be thinking about ancient Rome.
Fucking Carthage, okay.
I will say the Behind the Bastards has a series that is like the history of cops. That if you're interested in that kind of shit is super good. I will just check out Behind the Bastards because I constantly reference them in the show. It's like one of my favorite podcast series. He does a lot of history deep dive episodes. I would say like 90% of the research is really solid. Occasionally has one where it's just like, oh, he just got real excited about this, didn't he? Shit.
It's hard to have a lot of recommendations because most of my podcasts are about whatever my current special interest may be.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like deep in the weeds. It's like, do you want 5 podcasts about the history of ufology?
See, if somebody's doing game set in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, that shit might be perfect.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Depends what you're doing. I'm trying to offer like more general like history.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
kind
just
of
saying
things.
I don't listen to a lot of, so I might actually check some of these
Yeah,
out.
the last 2 I got on the list is History That Doesn't Suck by Professor Greg Jackson. Covers a bunch of different random little historical things and is actually a professor. So, education. Hooray.
Woo.
And then the last one is Redacted History by Andre White. He gets into history from a Black perspective. So it's a lot of covering like the African diaspora in the United States and various other aspects like the Haitian Revolution, that kind of stuff. So if you want to be not Eurocentric all the time, great series. I, in general, just recommend it. It's fantastic.
Nice.
So, woo! YouTubers. YouTube has tons
Tons
of fucking options. Part of the problem is because of the, surge of AI generated channels.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, science YouTube and history YouTube, places I hang out in a lot, have been flooded with these shitty AI channels. So vet your shit before you actually engage with it. My biggest thing is if you're watching documentaries on YouTube, make sure there's actually a host going to places.
Take a look at the host and make sure their mouth is moving properly.
Make sure they don't have 4 fingers on one hand and 7 on the other.
And if they do, that they look like they should have them there.
Yeah, like they had a genetic mutation,
Yes.
actually, and not just something in the algorithm fucked up.
Yeah.
Might also recommend skipping to the end of the documentary real quick and seeing if there's actually credits is also a big tell, because a lot of production companies have to have actual credits where they cite executive producers, production companies, any museums or anything they worked with.
Right.
So, because let's not give our eyeball time to the AI robots. Fuck that.
And there's videos you'll find that are even on weird, niche special interest stuff. You think people wouldn't be making AI videos of, and they are. Mm-hmm. Me and my buddy were working on the tabletop game I'm making, and we're just watching shit about the bizarre American pyramids conspiracy and stuff like that, and
the Bass Pro Shop pyramid.
No, there's so many.
I know
more
there's
than
so many more, but that's the big one.
Yeah, that's the most modern one, I think. At least the most modern big one. But anyway, there were AI videos we were finding about that. It's how already? This is such a niche military history topic.
Yeah, it's just a lot of those channels, they're just trying to crank so they can get content. So let's not encourage that. In fact, if you see those, report them. Fuck AI channels. Anywho, So creators that are, I can tell are real people that I have
Yeah.
used, and they're great. Atun Shea is a great fucking channel. He does good work, does a bunch of history stuff. Sometimes it's little character skits. I rewatched one. I forgot there's a skit he does where he has his friend dress up as Hitler and then blow his own brains out
Nice.
multiple times. And every
Nice.
time he's like, it was a good day. So yeah, hell yeah, that guy. There's also Mini Minuteman. He's known for doing the series called Bad Archaeology. He's an actual archaeologist. He's actually raised funds and gone to Turkey to go to ancient like sites like Göbekli Tepe.
Cool.
And he's been doing a docu-series where he's been traveling on his motorcycle across the Americas to go to like ancient indigenous sites.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's cool as fuck. History Buffs is a historical YouTube channel, but he reviews the historical accuracies of films. So if
Nice.
you're
Okay.
using history films for like to get the vibe,
Mhm.
that's a good source for him because he does a good job vetting of just being like, how on point is this or is not? And he also takes into account the movie quality of the film because there's a couple of films where he's like, it's accurate. This fucking sucks as a movie.
Mm.
Don't recommend it. It's not a good movie. It's accurate though. So that one's a good source.
Okay.
Townsend's and Sons.
Oh, yeah. Local, too.
Local guy. He does stuff at Condor Prairie here in Indiana. His stuff's mostly cooking. So even if you're like playing D&D and you just want to be like, how do I what the fuck is the traveling food? Like
Right.
how would
How do
this
I
shit work?
describe this being made if they're
Yeah.
sitting at camp?
Yeah, there's like it's good, but he also has some like others. He does some cross stuff with other historians. Like all the stuff I know about like letter writing and paper is from Townsend and Sons because he went to a historical site and they just talked about ancient or not ancient, but like 1700s letter writing and how the mail used to work.
He did some cool videos with Joe Pera, too.
Yeah,
Joe Pera.
Yeah, the Joe Pera episodes are great. Fuck, I'm forgetting the name of this one chef because he does a crossover episode with a chefware guy. He studies historical slave recipes and like African American cooking, and he has like his own line of like spices based off of like historical records
Cool.
of like Caribbean and all sorts of like the start of the Afrofusion in American diet like foods,
Nice.
and it's like so fucking cool.
That is cool. I need to check that out.
Speaking of that, Not Your Mama's History, she is a historical reenactor who's black, and she does talk about the black experience in America through various time periods and her experiences with doing history binding, because she does like make her own costumes, which involves like sewing stays and all the petticoats and everything and going to historic sites and educating people. And she has a really interesting video about weddings at plantations.
Okie-dokie then.
Stop doing that. We gotta stop. Just stop. That's weird. Anywho, Tasting History, another food channel, but he does talk about the vibes of cultures from the various recipes he covers, and he does ancient, like Babylonian recipes. He does stuff from all over the planet, all different times. It's interesting. He's also just a dork and pleasant.
Huzzah.
Huzzah! Carolina, Nebraska, historical fashion person from Poland, but she does a lot of meme jokes, but she's actually like looking at fashion plates for like I think up to the 1600s. So she does like modern vintage all the way till back then.
Cool.
So that one's cool. Vicky Bermudez is also a historical fashion person, but she comes from like a Chicano background and she specializes in like Latin studies. So
Nice.
hooray for that. Jessica Kelgren Fozard also does historical fashion, but she covers things from like a queer and disabled lens, which is cool. Nicole Rudolph, that's the one that did the feet documentary I was talking about earlier. So
it
she
comes
does.
back around.
It did. She's great.
It's
Abby
always
Cox
coming back to feet.
also does historical things. She did a series recently about the history of almond moms
Okay.
and just the concern about diet culture. And then she also did a video recently about ugly children
Okay.
and the concept of ugly children.
I got that video recommended to me.
It's
all
really
the time.
good. It's really good. It's funny. It's sad. It's also funny. Just the amount of just Victorian times, just being like, look at this child. She's homely. If anybody gives you any affection, darling, it's charity. Look at your face. It's terrible. There's nothing you can do about it. It's a moral failing. And it's like,
This is
what
your
the?
fault.
Yes! And it's like, you better have a good personality. Mm-hmm. And it's like, God, people were vicious to children.
Gotta teach them young, you know.
Yeah, bring that back.
Rude. And my last YouTuber I'm going to recommend is Step Back. Was known as like Step Back Histories. He does cover things in a lot of like political context for various historical events and international events. The the series he did somewhat recently about the Rwandan genocide is fantastic. It's a lot because it's the Rwandan genocide.
Heavy.
But he does talk about how mass communications affected that and how that kind of affect in modern day things as well. So if you want history with context and nuance, that is a good channel.
Mm-hmm.
I'll throw another one in there
What
that
you
I
got?
think's appropriate. I really like Kaz Rowe.
Kaz, yeah, didn't they do the gay cowboys?
They did Gay Cowboys. They do a lot of queer history, but they also just do a lot of history that's not necessarily queer.
Mm-hmm.
So if you, especially, but it's mostly American history. So
Yeah.
they do some really cool ones. I was looking up. It looks like they did one just on the weirdest things at the 1893 Chicago World's Fair.
Hell yeah.
So like,
I bet that was wild.
and then there's
Yeah.
the half-hour video on the life of disaster bisexual Hans Christian Andersen.
Oh god, that fucking that twink.
And then right after that, there's debunking the pervasive myths of medieval witch hunts.
Yeah.
So it's
All right.
all over the place, but
But good channel. I've also seen they are good. There's tons of others ones on the YouTube. I can't recommend them all. This isn't even all the ones I watch. Hi guys, welcome to ADHD. It's a bitch.
Huzzah!
Couple of channels that are specific for documentaries that I can say I haven't found an AI video on yet. Timeline : World History Documentaries. Re-uploads a fuckload of documentaries. They had a really good one for that I actually used for the Bruja bonus episode on Carthage.
Yeah.
That was really good. And that guy also did a road trip. The documentarian from that one also did a road trip into Iran and went to historical sites that are used for a lot of the bases for the Ban Hakim, including going to the actual Alamut.
nice.
Because I didn't realize Alamut was just a place and not something they made up for the game.
Oh.
Nice.
So I'm like, it's a place. It's a Zoroastrian thing.
Nice.
So
Very neat.
yeah, that channel, loads of documentaries. It's great. If you want shorter things, biographics, decoding the unknown, side projects, meta projects. These are all channels done by Simon Whistler, who's the bald British guy.
Bald British guy.
But his team, he hires writers and pays them, and they all like do actual research. And there's tons and tons and tons and tons of things you can look up, from like boats to libraries to actual people, events, natural disasters, not natural disasters, tons of shit.
Unnatural disasters?
Yeah, things like Chernobyl. I would call that an
Oh.
unnatural disaster.
I was hoping you were talking things like The Mist.
I think the closest to that is I think he does have an episode where he talks about the use of mustard gas in World War One.
I also think Chernobyl's pretty close to The Mist.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
If you're, that's a good way to put this, not too concerned about how you acquire your historical information, I won't blow up their spot, but there may be a Googleable forum that might be archiving a ton of safe torrents specifically for old documentaries that are no longer available.
Okay,
cool.
that's
So
cool.
maybe if you can look around and find that and help seed some stuff, that would be cool.
Yeah.
If you want something that's a little less spicy, I know the Internet Archive has
Internet have tons of stuff.
loads of shit. If you want to have a good haha night, because of how copyright works, films from 1924 and earlier are now in the public domain, and there's tons and tons and tons. But because it's 1924, we're starting to get into places where sound is coming into films. So yeah, you can just have stream parties where you just watch weird old shit.
There's
It's super fucking cool.
I know there's multiple versions of The Wizard of Oz on there.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of adaptations. They used to love making that movie until they made the one everyone saw.
Oh yeah, there's that. That's where I've gotten like copies of the Nosferatu film, and just there's tons of other just like cool German expressionist horror films, and it's a good time.
Just be nice. Maybe throw them some bucks. They're under a weird legal battle right now.
Yeah, archiving is important.
Your local library. You should check that out for
Definitely.
resources on history.
Oh yeah,
Fucking actually anything.
yes.
Almost anything you can think of, go to your local library, and if they don't have it there, your librarians will be absolutely stoked to help you
The
out.
library people, hell yeah! Especially if you're doing some nerdy shit. You're like, hey, I'm gonna be running a World of Darkness game, and my friends and I want to run it in the early industrial period, and they'll just be like, girl, I got
Let's
you.
go.
Let's go.
There's a good chance they will walk you to the section. you
Mhm.
need.
And there should be like documentaries and also like movies, comic books, novels, AU fiction. If you want to look for like actual academic research books and papers, websites, lectures. Hell, if you're in an area where you have access to museums to go look at shit for inspo, fucking do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, go support local infrastructure education things, even if you're just being like a spooky little nerd. Hell, you and your friends could make a day of it.
I sometimes forget how much fun it is to go to museums.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, went to the art museum not too long ago, and they have their exhibits. They have a bunch of exhibits for more modern art and like weird sculptures and whatnot like that out. And there's one specific, I can't remember what it's called, but it's just like a Christmas tree shape of big TVs that are like switching through static and different like videos and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing it on a field trip to the museum in like middle school, and I spent too much time just standing in front of it staring into the static and other distortions and whatnot. And I haven't seen it since. And then the other day, like a week or two ago, I went to the museum and I was just like, it's back! It's back! I got so fucking excited.
That's so cool. Because going to art school in the city that we do, the art museum here in Indianapolis has a really good contemporary design and furniture section, which I know sounds weird, but within it is a thing that every time I have gone to the art museum and they force me to write papers about. In the furniture section, there is this thing that's called the Shiva vase. I call it the dick vase because it's literally the most cartoony dick and balls painted the most cartoony white people flesh color as just a vase, and it's done by some Italian guy. And I've written 4 papers about
Nice.
this vase. So it's like, yeah. Other people were like, I'm gonna go write about all these like William Turner pieces and all these series. I'm like, nah, give me the dick face.
Let's go.
I've yet to have a teacher get pissed at me for it. I'm just like, look, I will write about the dick vase in a way that's compelling and interesting, and actually a dissection of contemporary design, especially considering the context of the sexual revolution, whence the vase came from.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, I might do a version of this for the patrons. Give a dramatic reading of my dick vase art dissection critique.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, no, history can be fun. You can learn things, and just go do things with your friends. It's like y'all could have like a trip to the library, go hang out and do stuff, go get a coffee.
I think I want to go to the library.
Hell yeah!
I'm gonna say this every time.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, you're into tabletop games.
You're a fucking
if
nerd.
you go to Gen Con, go to the fucking Idle Jorg.
Go to the Idle Jorg. It's so fucking cool.
Jorg.
Leave an extra day before or after, or if you just get tired of being around being like nerds shoulder to shoulder, go for a walk at the Idle Jorg. It's sick.
It's sick as fuck. Outside the Idle Jorg, there's this really cool statue of like deer running. Go post up by that and just do like the most like squad fam posting. Like do Slav squats, post by it, and then go to the museum.
Maybe we should do a meetup and get our picture there by the deer.
Yes.
So one time I went there and I climbed up on the deer. It was late at night and
Okay.
I was intoxicated.
That
And
makes
I
sense.
climbed up on the deer and I was doing sexy poses on its back.
Yes.
And apparently there was a wedding or something in the Idle Jorg that night. And 2 people in like really nice clothes came out like gown, like not the bride, but like a gown, nice ass gown and a nice ass like tux. Like walk past, and I didn't notice it first, and I look over and I go, huh, and I tried to kind of like get off gracefully to be respectful of like they're having a romantic moment.
I didn't know these people were doing a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I start to go and I kind of slip and like land next to it, and the guy goes, "Oh no, get it! You looking good."
And you're just like, yeah, you want up here?
Okay, cool. Climbed back up on it, took some more pictures. It was hilarious.
You should have invited them up there with you.
Ah, fuck! I should have.
Like you just posing sexy next to people that are dressed like way too immaculately. I kind of love that energy.
Damn it.
So, speaking of loving that energy, any final thoughts on the playing a game in not right now times?
I've done it plenty of times. I think it's always a good time. The big thing I think we went over, talk to your table, make sure everyone has at least a basic idea of what that time period was like. If people don't and they want to play them, I would probably require them to at least watch like a half-hour History Channel documentary. Like give them something easy, but like please just get on the basis, know what the Industrial Revolution was before we try and play that mage game, please.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's a great idea. It's super
fun and cool. And if you're already like, look, I'm tired of playing games where it's just, nightclub, another club.
Yeah.
You can change it up a bit. Warehouse. Just that meme of Lady Gaga being like, club, another club. Except it's just warehouse, parking lot.
I avoided all those locations pretty well for my game.
Yeah, you're good at just picking this isn't out of pocket, but it's like interesting with your country club that's also a murder pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, history is neat and cool, but also horrifying barely beyond comprehension. And it's also like a living thing because our comprehension and understanding of history changes with the context that we engage with it.
That vibe.
Yeah.
I really liked the Memorium.
Yeah.
I hadn't really explored that. I saw it on LA by Night.
Yeah.
I saw it on LA by Night, but didn't really explore it much beyond that, and talking about it was nice. It's a cool idea.
Yeah. Also, if you're doing some things and you're like, oh, we got a big mission, that's kind of a good way to cheese getting some extra goodies.
Yeah.
That would be a cool little game idea to do it. It would be take a little buy-in from everyone, but I was like, you could run a game where each session is like a different character's memoriam to set up the game.
Oh, that would be cool.
Maybe I can put that on the patron poll once we start doing like some
the actual play
stuff.
I think we'll be do you want to try to organize that a little bit more seriously after we do Salubri?
I think that was the plan. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna do one more for this month, and then of non-actual play stuff, and then we'll put some of those on the poll because that'd be fun. But we would need to be in a place where you have time to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think we've survived. Thank you, Paralyze, for the Muzak.
Yeah, thanks.
I appreciate it quite a bit.
It's cool.
There are quite a few cyborgs that have been dying.
Millions, one could say.
Yeah.
Yay.
But thanks, man.
Good tunes. They're on Bandcamp. Go check them out.
Get
Go
in
give them
there.
some dollars. Give them some listens.
Poke them.
Put that electronic goodness in your ear holes,
Absorb
much
it.
like you've done with us.
Yeah. We are electronic goodness now.
Yeah. Our Twitter is dead. And by dead, I mean it's just there.
Yeah, posted on it. I don't know. Twitter's a cesspool, and I feel happier not ever looking at the app. So
Good.
I feel like my brain prepared itself just a little bit by stopping to use that app. So you were all great, all of our listeners, I'll say, but just by being on the app, it wanted me to engage with it, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a Faustian bargain. We as a group were like, no,
Can't do it.
Elon, fuck off.
Elon isn't actually that, like, an eldritch being.
He's trying really hard, and
But he
he's
can't get
failing
it.
at it,
Yeah.
which is funny considering how much money he has.
He should be.
I'm
pretty
going
good
to
at
forever laugh at that man and his stupid fucking hair plugs.
it. Yeah.
Anyways, we do exist on Instagram at Blank Bodies Pod. We try to do some posts there.
I'm bad at it. Sorry, guys.
We're all trying to get better at it. I'm on TikTok for us on Blank Bodies Podcast.
She's pretty good at it.
I'm gonna be hopefully adding some interesting content soon. We have some plans
We do.
for things.
Woo-woo.
Ooh, woo.
Ooh-ee-oo.
Whoa.
Just like Buddy Holly.
We got a Tumblr.
We do. We
I don't think we actually use that
no,
either.
we just don't use it. We don't really have anything against Tumblr. It's just we don't have Tumblr brains.
Nope.
Some people recommended we make a Tumblr, and then none of those people followed us on Tumblr, and I don't understand Tumblr, so I stopped using
And
Tumblr.
I don't have the time or space to erotically roleplay vampire with strangers.
Yeah.
I have the time.
The pause. It was the pause.
But I don't know if I have...
The spoons?
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, you have an energy that is potent, but it needs to be used precisely.
Yeah, I have enough ADD. I have time for anything. But
That's fair. Patreon. We have various tiers of options if you want to give us dollar dues to support us to do this work. We have a goal for doing 4 episodes a month. We're not quite there. We're getting there. And as a bonus, an extra nugget of goodness, if we get to that goal, I will do an episode about the horrors of milk within VTM.
that's a surprisingly large amount of them.
There's so much.
Milk is a horrifying thing.
It is.
It's a dark, dark substance.
And that's before we started adding the layers of the World of Darkness bullshit
Yeah.
into the thick fluid of mammary descent.
Milk's not that different than blood.
It isn't.
There's blood in milk.
There is.
Right.
And other...
But even just like chemically, it's not
Yes.
that different than blood.
Milk tub.
Milk tub.
No.
Good for your skin.
It'd be really good for my skin, yeah.
The
I'd come out being soft.
The patrons were joking in the Discord about getting you to fight things with a fight of phalanx.
I was posting
John-
phalanx memes earlier.
Yeah, there was
and then-
phalanx memes earlier, and then somebody, I think it was Squared, was like, John should fight the phalanx.
I'll try.
Phalanx tier.
I'm in.
And I'm like, I was like, you don't really have to prompt him that much. He'll just do
I'll
it.
try. I'll probably lose.
If you can organize a phalanx,
Uh-huh.
John will fight it.
I'll show up.
Give me a shot.
If you've got real spears, though, it doesn't mean he's not going to have, like, I might just give him a grenade or something.
That's true.
How do you defeat the phalanx? Hey, shit ass.
How do,
Grenade.
Grenade.
how do you defeat a phalanx? You go left or right slightly. Like, it's not difficult. But yeah, there's also illustration tiers, various other things. We appreciate the support. We are using the money to try to boost the show more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like getting these chairs. I
Yeah.
bet you didn't hear my keys jingle. Well, you don't probably ever hear my keys
Yeah,
jingle.
I don't have to edit the keys jingling out anymore.
It's
Hell
saving Hunter
yeah.
time and the mental fortitude to not thrash the both of us.
I haven't tried to stand up once
I
from my
know.
butt hurting.
I'm so proud of you. We also have an interview series. We do have some stuff lined up, trying to desperately get all of that actually rolling. Between 2024 already being the massive shit show that it is and all of our unmedicated ADHDs. We're getting there.
Things are tough sometimes.
We're not all unmedicated.
Are you on medicine for ADHD?
Legally, no.
I'm proud of you.
I don't have insurance anymore, so I'm not. I am
Even
no
when I
longer
had
medicated.
insurance, I wasn't. And then I realized I was self-medicating with caffeine the whole time.
I could have told you that.
I
Yeah.
didn't. Why didn't you tell me?
We literally half our friend group is self-medicated on caffeine.
This is true.
The amount of Monster cans I have to rinse and recycle every week, even though I don't drink energy drinks, is insane.
I switched to Celsius.
That's not going to change the amount of Monster cans that are
It's a
left
smaller
here,
can, and it's not Monster. I'm not drinking Monster because I'm trying to support the BDS movement because I'm trying to make things slightly less shitty.
Though. Yay!
I'm trying.
Trying my best.
Trying my best, but I am a sleepy bitch. Speaking of being a sleepy bitch, I think my watch has ended.
Yeah.
Has it?
Yeah, I think
Can I rest now?
Hey,
Yeah, you've earned a short rest.
Oh,
you
thank
guys, listeners, everybody, I want you to remember
Okay.
that I love you. Bye. Wait, I whispered that. That I love you. Bye. Mwah.
Oh, damn.
It's hot in here.
Yeah, it is.
So take
It's,
off.
I don't know.